Hey guys, my name's Chris, and Mustafa and I have the best jobs in the world. We literally travel all around working with developers and startups, trying to convince you to integrate Evernote into apps you're building or working on. We are Evernote. We started off as a note-taking company. We have a very large platform now. We have about 50 million users using Evernote, but specifically the cloud platform that we run, we have about 20,000 developers building apps, third-party apps, independent apps that we recommend to our users. So Evernote has Evernote Premium, so users can decide to go Evernote Premium, but they're always asking us, what are third-party applications that sync to Evernote? And it's our job to find very good apps, promote you guys, and get you guys some of our users. So that's what we're hoping for. We're gonna talk about the Evernote Dev Cup. The workshop that we have today, it's, let's pretend that this was 3 to 5. So we're gonna get started. Forget the times, but basically we'll do a quick overview of the Dev Cup and this new Evernote accelerator that we've launched. Mustafa will do an overview of the API. He'll show you actually Evernote for Python, for JavaScript, for Node.js. I'll give a talk on some design. I'll give a talk on design principles. We'll get into how to actually add Evernote to your iPhone application or Android application. We'll talk about some resources we have available and how specifically we promote developers that we think will add value to our users, that will help our users do more with their Evernote accounts. Show of hands, how many would call themselves developers? Okay. Specifically, how many are mobile developers, iOS? Okay, what about Android? Android developers, okay. What about web developers? Python, PHP, Ruby, okay, awesome. Any designers in the room? Anyone that considers themselves a designer / developer? Okay, awesome. And who works for startups? So I know, who's involved with startups here? So, okay, and then others work for other companies? Okay, great. Feel free to stop us anytime we go through. We're gonna truck through these slides, and if you have questions, let's talk about it. Let me know. So to start, who has heard of the Evernote Dev Cup? So kind of what we want to talk about is what Evernote is. I'll talk briefly about our API. I'll talk about this competition. This is basically the time of the year that our whole company, Evernote, has a competition. We look for the best new apps that work with Evernote. We promote them, and we also send the top 6 teams to pitch in Silicon Valley, on stage at our big conference in San Francisco. Hopefully that they become their own company and they become successful. So Evernote, who has used Evernote before? Okay, so Evernote, note-taking app originally, and then it is spread out into a platform. So we have lots of different apps that work with Evernote. We have drawing apps, we have note-taking apps, we have ways that you can store your food and your memories into Evernote. We have all these different things. These are the products that we run. But then we have thousands of developers who are building third-party apps that have a save to Evernote feature. So if you think about Evernote, if you've ever built in your own apps a send to Facebook or send to Twitter feature, those are social apps. You think of letting your friends know what you're doing, Foursquare, etc. Evernote, we like to think of ourselves as the anti-social app. You put things into Evernote that you want to remember later. So whether that's you're traveling and you want to send your travel information, you want to be able to quickly find it, you send it into Evernote. Evernote's always had very good OCR technology, so you can handwrite your notes. And I'm a lefty handwriter. I'm a pretty bad handwriter, and it still recognizes it. A lot of people take photos of signage and stuff, and you can pull it out of Evernote. You can store 200 megabytes per note, so you can add video, PDFs, anything into an Evernote note. And all these apps are possible because of the Evernote API. Mustafa will get into details about it, but essentially, the Evernote API is our core product. So Evernote for Android, some of you use it. Evernote for iOS. We have Evernote on every platform, Windows 8, the web. They're all making calls to the API. So every month we have over 6 billion requests are made to our API. So our company is totally reliant on our own platform. Every feature and every function in our platforms is available to you as a developer. So if you're thinking as an engineer, if you're thinking about Evernote as a cloud platform, notes are really just object modules. You can store attachments in a note, you can store text, you can store XML. It is something that you can edit, alter, modify, delete. And it's a free platform available for you to use for your own applications. We want to be the archive for our users. We want our users to feel like they can store, say, their exercise records. They can store that into Evernote, and years later they can look at information that they clipped into from a website. We want to be useful to them. We have SDKs for every language available. I mean, literally, we have it for, I think 16 plus languages. If some of you are old school and you want to use our Perl SDK, we have that available. We have SDKs available for every platform. We're constantly working on our stuff. And we're Apache Thrift, not REST. So how that works is you would download our SDK, put it into your app, and you could just make simple function calls to our resource, and we would take care of the request for you. So it's pretty straightforward to integrate, and Mustafa will just open up his computer and show you how to just add it to Android and iOS. Since last year, our team's tripled. We have about 9 of us now on the platform team. So designers, developers, mostly engineers, SDK engineers. We're working on, there's a lot of developers who are like a Java developer, but they want to learn Objective-C. They want to switch over to iPhone development, or Windows 32 developers that want to learn Android. We created quick start guides. So we're actually creating guides that if you want to learn a new programming language, we'll show you even how to get started with the IDE. We want to be that resource because a lot of our developers are in college, so they're using us for their final projects. We want to be that resource for developers. We have Evernote Business. So Evernote, you can now get it for a company. So Evernote Business allows companies to have a combined Evernote account where you can share each other's records or who you met. And when we launched Evernote Business, one of the best stories that came out of it is 8 apps were ready with Evernote Business API in it. So we actually promoted them to our users, and that was a great launch for them because these are independent developers that are offering value to our users. And yeah, dev.evernote.com is where anything I'm showing you, you can get there at dev.evernote.com. So yeah, we're hoping that you build apps with Evernote. If you have an existing app, add a Save to Evernote feature, because it goes back to this Evernote Dev Cup, which is our annual competition. We've done it for the last 3 years now. And the setup is we've done meetups in the last 3 months. We have been to every continent except Antarctica. Mustafa and I just ran a 120-person hackathon in Berlin. This API workshop is actually geared to more advanced developers. So we're actually also doing these workshops where we can actually sit down with you and show you code and examples. But we have this big conference in the fall where the top 6 teams that have the best apps that work with Evernote, we want them to pitch on stage for gold, silver, and bronze, and we want you to meet VCs in Silicon Valley and, again, become your own successful startup. So kind of how the Dev Cup works, it's our annual competition. So right now, 4 more weeks to add an Evernote, Save to Evernote feature into your project or into a new app that you're building. So anyone who submits to the Evernote Dev Cup gets $100 in Amazon Web Service credit for your servers, and then the team additionally gets like another $300. So we want you to feel like it's worth your time. Your server costs would be covered. So you submit your app to the Evernote Dev Cup. We're going to announce 12 winning teams. So these are categories like the best photo app, the best note-taking app, the best exercise app, different ways that people use Evernote. And we'll also give you a ticket to the Evernote conference, and then you'd be eligible for our accelerator, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then the top 6 teams will actually fly to San Francisco to compete for gold, silver, and bronze. So we'll fly you room, board, all your expenses, and then at our Evernote conference, this is our user conference, but we're actually showing off the top 6 app teams that have really good Evernote integrations. And then from that, if you want, we're going to offer all those winning teams a spot in our new Evernote Accelerator, which is our 4-week-long accelerator program at Evernote, where we're providing pitch training, engineering, and UX review, development. We're actually going to mix our engineers up with all the teams. What's great about the Evernote Accelerator is we're doing we're taking in no equity. It's a no equity incubator. So we are actually just doing a 4-week workshop in hopes that you connect with Techstars and the other VCs that are good friends with us, like Sequoia Capital, in hopes that you can become your own independent startup. So these are different categories. If you submit by the 28th, think about an app you want to work on or an app you already have. These are the different categories that you could win. So like the best, I think of Evernote as the thing I clip all my recipes interface for Evernote. So they save their server logs every day through Python into their Evernote account. Some people use it for clipping design inspiration. So these are the different category prizes we're giving: best app for business, best design, family parenting app, paperless app, etc. So those are different things that you could win. And then the way that and I think this is the way, if you run your own startup, these are the different types of criteria we look at if an app is of good quality. Is the design, is it intuitive? Sometimes if a developer doesn't have designers on his team, it can be a very well-functioning app, but it's not intuitive and it's hard to use. Conversely, if you're a very good designer without engineering, it may be a beautifully crisp app, but it doesn't do anything. So I think what we want is that mix of like an intuitive app that also makes good use of APIs. It's useful and it's original. We have pretty strong OCR processing on the back end for Evernote. So the first year for DevCup, everyone did a document scanning app. But unfortunately, all that is you just take a photo and send it to Evernote because we're doing the scanning for you. So I think what we want is like something original, something that you're already working on. So yeah, try to think about that. This is a cool story. So most of our developers are independent, but one story was this John. He ran R&D for another Silicon Valley company. And he was a director, he was more in management, but he wanted to learn iOS. So he used the DevCup as an excuse to learn a new programming language. He got a designer to work with him, and he built an app that let you take photos of your meals and then very quickly save it to Evernote versus opening up a note, taking a photo. Like, he kind of removed all those steps. He won second place in the DevCup and then kind of told us afterwards, I'm not going to do this full time. I actually want to go back to my other job, but I'll help you build a team. So he sold it to Evernote, acquired it, and that's what Evernote Food is now. So Evernote Food is a team of 15 developers that he part-time actually comes in and is still the one running the project. So that's a story we're pretty proud of because he used it as an excuse to learn an iOS language, and it ended up being probably one of our most popular apps that we have now. So key dates. So you have until June 28th to submit an app for DevCup. That might seem short, but I will say Mustafa will show you how to add Evernote into your app within 20 minutes. It's very straightforward. I think you just want to make sure that it's a good integration. So June 28th, DevCup ends, and we'll probably have 300 to 500 developers submitting apps. I think last year we had about 200 to 300 apps submitted. And then we'll announce category prize winners and the finalists. And then the 6 teams from around the world, we're looking for international teams. Last year, the representation was Brazil, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Canada, and 1 from the States. So usually we find that international startups are working really hard, and they usually have very good products. So we'll have the conference and then the accelerator, which I'll get into now. So yeah, I talked about it briefly, but the Evernote accelerator we're taking the 6 best teams from kind of our developer companies we meet. This is our 1-month residency program in California. So we just moved into this brand new building. We're in like we got an old 5-story old bank building, and we're stripping it all out and turning it into a new workspace. The second floor, we're turning it into an accelerator space. We're going to be pulling in our friends from other Silicon Valley companies. So we'll offer pitch training. We'll have our friends from different venture capitalist firms come, and you can meet them. Our whole goal is that when you leave, you feel like you have better resources for your app and for your product. Like I said, we are taking no equity in any company and in our accelerator. Our number one goal is that we have apps that we can recommend to our users. So I think that's pretty appealing because you can still be in a real incubator and come to this 4-week workshop. I think you can benefit from it. 3 apps I think we're really proud of from the DevCup from last year. These also represent different business models I think developers can use our platform to help them out with. Everclip, they were the winner of DevCup last year. So they had the best pitch. They're from Hong Kong. These are 2 developers that, iOS developers, so they built an iPhone and iPad version. When you copy things in iOS, you copy things, you kind of select text or HTML. What Everclip does is it listens to your clipboard. And everything you're copying, so if you're reading a news site or if you're reading anything, it'll save all those clips as separate little clips in the app. So when you open up every clip, you can choose which of those you want to send into Evernote. So it's a great way to kind of use them as a web clipper but store stuff into Evernote. They're selling it for $3.99 in the iTunes App Store. Just two guys, they run their own company. We've promoted them like crazy because it is something that was missing from Evernote. They have had over 60,000 downloads of their app. So we're very proud of them. We've had them speak at some recent conferences. I think that's a really good model. So using DevCup as a way to launch a product and selling it through an app store like Google Play or iTunes. Another model is Beezy's great. So Beezy is a way that you can store all your documents. It's for project managers. So after you're kind of, you've put together your checklists and your deliverables, you can kind of save the whole project into Evernote as like a compended project. What we're excited about is we've been seeing them featured in the different app stores around the world. So they're 4+ stars in the App Store. They were featured on the homepage of Japan's iTunes Store. They keep adding new features, and kind of the more project manager audience loves what they're doing. And they sell that. I like this model. So how many of you work for agencies, or you are a freelancer that builds mobile apps for other people? Okay, so this is something we've seen as the dev relations team that I think is smart. Bubble Browser, he's actually in the office this week. He just traveled to visit us he's in town for Google I/O. But Bubble Browser is a developer from Poland, and he has like 3 guys on his team. And he built Bubble Browser. He built an awesome app so he could showcase their skills, and it's actually been a great way for them to get new business, because they were one of the top apps in DevCup last year. They offer it free in the iTunes Store. So I wanted them to charge it. I think it's a great app. Like you can search by, it shows like how many, it shows bubbles based on your notebooks, what you've tagged, and you can quickly start seeing patterns in your use of Evernote. Our users love it. So you can see in 2012, I've tagged 1 million things, sports, but most of them I'm not doing anything with. Gives you kind of analytics. Top 5, they're getting featured everywhere, but they said it's been a great way for them to get exposure for their agency business. They build iOS apps for other people. A lot of times, companies come up to us, and companies ask, "Hey, do you know developers that know the Evernote API? We're dying to recommend developers that can build something." So that's a great model, I think. Dev resources. Mustafa will get into details, but basically everything you'd expect from a development team. So we have dev.evernote.com. We have all our SDKs, a lot of chapters, a lot of examples that you can pull from. We've revamped that thing I think 3 times in the last year. GitHub/Evernote. So all our SDKs are there. Mustafa will talk about it also, but like one great thing about our developer community is we've gotten some amazing pull requests. So we have developers that keep us honest, that really help us keep our SDK up to date. Our whole platform, all our SDKs are open, so you can review the code, offer suggestions, be a contributor. And we have developer forums. So forums are forums. What helps about ours is that's actually the primary way we work with developers. So the 9 of us are always on the forums answering questions. It's a great way to kind of get an answer if someone else already had it. And we get a lot of our engineers from the different product teams. We'll get them to answer questions also directly, especially when their app breaks, and then we can put them on the forums to answer why it broke. So if you're interested in this DevCup competition, go to devcup.evernote.com. You can learn more about it, what the prizes are. But yeah, I think it'd be very interesting for some of you. And I think next we'll kick it off to Mustafa. So thanks, guys. Thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it. So, all right.